everybody, welcome back to Arbitrary 20. Today we're going to be taking a look at Player's Handbook Playtest 8. For this video we're going to be looking specifically at the Cantrips.
So yeah, the first spell change was Acid Splash. Now creates a 5-foot radius sphere instead of targeting 2 creatures, and it's an evocation spell instead of a conjuration spell. They say that this school change unites the spell with the other sorcerer and wizard's other direct damage acid spells. Don't think the school change is too big of a deal, but the 5-foot radius could potentially be pretty big, as you could potentially hit twice as many creatures with this now. If you're playing on a grid, 2 creatures 5 feet apart, now you could put it on an intersection of 4 squares and hit 4 different creatures potentially. I mean, it's rare that that's going to happen.
Like you said, it's certainly possible, but this definitely feels a lot better to me, and it even makes more sense.
Yeah, I think it was
splash.
Yeah, I think
actual splash damage.
I think it was a cantrip that definitely needed buffing too. Like, since it was the D6 one, it rarely ever got chosen.
And then on top of that, typically it was a single target. Sometimes situationally you could get 2. If they were close enough together. So this just feels better because, I mean, it's still situational in that sense of trying to get multiple, but I think it feels better personally.
Yeah, I think so too. And then next, Blade Ward is now a reaction that imposes disadvantage on a creature's melee attack roll, as to where before Blade Ward was an action and it gave you resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing till I believe the start of your next turn. So before it was kind of like an alternative to the dodge action, I guess, and now it's like a cantrip level shield spell, kind of. The only bad thing in this case is that it doesn't like scale super well. As creatures get multi-attack, you're still only able to give disadvantage on 1 attack.
Yeah, it still burns your whole reaction.
The previous version did scale with, like, the cantrip itself didn't scale, but because you always had resistance, like, you, still worked against multi-attack.
Yeah, I think this probably could use, I guess, maybe a buff in a sense, maybe not.
It's interesting though, like if you're out of spell slots using this.
Yeah. Similar
to the Light Cleric's Warding Flare ability, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I'd be fine with Blade Ward either way. Like, it's still kind of niche either way, and not everybody's gonna pick it, but it's still not bad.
Mm-hmm.
Next one is Chill Touch. It's now a touch spell that deals a d10 damage rather than a d8, and it no longer has the rarely used undead specific effect. So now, just melee spell attack, deals a d10 necrotic damage, and the creature can't regain hit points until the end of your next turn.
I don't think that undead change is the end of the world. Obviously that's probably why they took it out, didn't do much, but...
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it was bad before, it's still bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's even more rough now since you have to be in melee. But, I mean, potentially against a creature with, like, regeneration, this could be okay, but the fact that it's still touch now is not great.
It was, what, 10 feet before? Or...
I don't remember what the range was before.
Look at it real quick. Yeah, it was 120.
That's a pretty big difference.
Yeah, it is.
That is 115 feet less. For not even a single point of damage, if you're including hit chance. But
yeah, that's a little rough. I
don't know about this one.
I think that range change is odd, to say the least.
I don't really see the point of this change, to be honest.
Yeah,
I'm
not super impressed with the change either.
But we can say that in the survey.
Yes, sir.
The next cantrip is Friends. Now forces the target to make a save against being charmed briefly. You magically emanate a sense of friendship toward one visible creature within range. The target must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or have the charmed condition for the duration. The target succeeds automatically if it isn't a humanoid, if you're fighting it, or if you have cast the spell on it within the past 24 hours. The spell ends early if the target takes damage, or if you make an attack roll, deal damage, or force anyone to make a saving throw.
So, like, right off the top, I'm pretty happy to see this change. They went to the charmed condition, which does the same thing as the old Friends cantrip. Basically, you get advantage on all charisma checks, and so the charm condition fills that need the same way.
I've seen charmed run differently at different tables, but either way, this is definitely a pretty big upgrade. It's also nice that it doesn't immediately make them hostile towards you after.
That is definitely another solid bonus.
But yeah, definitely an upgrade. Still not sure if I'm gonna take it, but I think there's plenty of people that would now.
I definitely think this now holds maybe it holds more of a place at a table now than before.
And on to Poison Spray. It now has a range of 30 feet rather than 10 feet and uses an attack roll rather than a saving throw. Also, it is now a necromancy rather than a conjuration spell. Don't really understand the necromancy change, but don't think it matters too much. But yeah, now it's a ranged spell attack within 30 feet, and the target takes still a d12 poison damage. This is definitely better than a con save. Poison damage, at least as of right now, is still one of the most resisted damage types, so it's not bad, but I still think just going with ye old Firebolt is probably better.
Yeah, probably. I can definitely say, like you said earlier, getting rid of that Constitution save is much better feeling.
Yeah.
Because con save stuff is always pretty rough.
It's actually playable now.
Yeah, it feels a little better.
Next up is Produce Flame. It's now a bonus action, but the attack portion is still an action, so I guess similar to like Magic Stone. The range of the light has increased to 20 feet, and also the range of the attack has increased to 60 feet. Also, the attack can now target creatures or objects. So we have an additional cantrip that can damage objects, which is nice. So now the druid has an option for that, where I don't know if they did before. But yeah, so duration 10 minutes, you get a flame that appears in your hand, bright light for 20 feet, dim light for 20 feet. You can dismiss it as a bonus action, and it is a magic action to make a ranged spell attack, and it's d8 fire damage. I think I'd probably take that on my druid, honestly, because it's a light source, can damage objects, and it's okay damage for a cantrip.
Certainly, and it also feels a little bit better too, because before it was an action to cast it, and then an action to throw it, if I remember correctly.
No, you could. So when you did it along with that action, you could throw it.
Okay.
So the action economy is actually slightly worse,
Yeah.
but I still think the spell is overall better.
This is still, yeah, I feel like it's a little expensive for a cantrip.
But like if you already had it up, like if you're going through the dungeon and this is your torch, then like you can just throw it. Like it's fine. Yeah.
As you said earlier, also the distinction, because before it didn't say object. I'm sure most DMs just said, yeah, that's fine, just target objects. But it's cool to see that it's actually written in rules now.
That is also ran differently at various tables as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, raw, there's only a small list of spells that can affect objects, and a very small number of cantrips can.
I think it's a welcome change.
Yeah, I think this one's pretty good overall. And then Shillelagh, I actually really like this one. It now improves at higher levels, and it gives you the option of dealing force damage or the weapon's normal type. So pretty much the same bonus action with a club or quarterstaff. You make it use your spellcasting ability instead of strength, and it becomes a d8. Like they said, force damage or the weapon's normal damage type. Ends early if you cast it again or if you let go of the weapon. But yeah, now it scales at 5, 11, and 17 to a d10, a d12, and 2d6. So kind of cool. I mean, 2d6 with a one-handed weapon. I mean, it is level 17. I honestly feel like I could scale a little bit better, but it is cool that it at least scales.
I think this is a change that was definitely needed for this cantrip. I've always liked Shillelagh, but now it's definitely better. I think it probably could have a bit more of a damage boost, scale a little bit better, I should say. For what it is, it's definitely improvement over the last Shillelagh.
Yeah, the rough thing is that, at least with how it is now in 1D&D, the quarterstaff no longer benefits from Polearm Master. Even though now this scales, you're still not getting that bonus action attack, so I don't know how much benefit you're actually going to be getting from it, since the best strategy to use along with this is now not there anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I guess a benefit, you are, yes, agreed, you're missing out on the Polearm Master stuff. I mean, the quarterstaff does get weapon masteries, right?
Yeah, I think, I believe they changed it to topple after they removed flex.
I mean, it takes somewhere you can get it, I guess, but yeah.
That's true. I mean, topple could help, but I mean, by the time you've reached that 2d6, no monster is failing those topple saves. They got like 25 to 30 strength.
Yeah, there could be a little bit of improvement here, but I'm happy to see the changes so far.
Yeah, definitely nice buff. I think if they gave it a similar treatment to Produce Flame and made it a 10-minute duration, that'd be kind of nice. So then you could easily get it up before combat.
Yeah.
Next up was one that made both of us sad. Shocking Grasp now shuts down opportunity attacks rather than all reactions. Shutting down all reactions is too powerful for a cantrip. According to them, this cantrip has always been meant to provide a partial disengage, which it does, in this version. Like other lightning spells, Dispel no longer makes a distinction about whether the target is wearing metal. I don't think the metal thing came up too often anyway. It was always like a pseudo disengage or potentially a way to like bait out a counter spell. But like, you have to be in melee to do this, so like, you're putting yourself in quite a lot of danger as opposed to just casting Firebolt from 100 feet away. I don't know. I don't think it was overpowered at all, to be honest. I saw plenty of super powerful wizard builds not even consider this.
Yeah, I've used this before, and it was fun. I never thought it was overpowered, and it took a lot, in my opinion, at least when I played with this cantrip, it took a lot of strategizing and trying to figure out how to get what I wanted out of this cantrip, at the same time not kill myself in the process. So
yeah,
I am sad to see that reaction go away. I think we were talking earlier and you brought up something about how this change might potentially be because of their changes to the monsters.
Oh yeah, I believe it's the Vecna stat block. Now he has 3 reactions and no legendary actions, so how this is currently worded, it would just take out all of the reactions. Which, I mean, there's other ways to solve that. If that is what they were thinking, I'm not sure if it was. They do say shutting down all reactions here, so maybe. But you could just say it shuts down one of the creature's reactions, which in most cases, every creature just has one, but in cases like that, it would take 3 casts of Shocking Grasp to get rid of all of them. Or maybe even if you keep spell effects not stacking, you just can't do that. But, I mean, yeah, I definitely don't think it was too powerful. Like, in all honesty, now this is just bad disengage, I feel like. Because it's disengage with a chance to fail. Like, it really doesn't do that much damage.
Yeah, and it's an expensive disengage. I don't know. Yeah, not too pleased about this one, but we'll see, I guess see what comes out of it. Definitely going to be talking about this one in the survey, because...
yeah, if it stays like this, I am never picking it.
Yeah, this one was such a fun cantrip to play. I always had a good time playing it when I played as a wizard in one of our campaigns we played. It's not the end of the world, but I am bummed.
Hopefully they're able to come up with something better. But yeah, the next change is Spare the Dying. It's now ranged rather than a touch spell, and the range increases as you level up, and it's also now on the Druid list. Now it starts out at 15 feet, goes up to 30 feet at level 5, 60 feet at 11, and 120 feet at 17. Spare the Dying is okay. This is definitely better. I mean, the only reason you would have taken this before is like just in case you run out of spell slots for Healing Word and stuff like that.
In my experience, I've never seen this cantrip come up too often. It was usually at the end of a combat. And at that point, it's like just walk over and do of the multiple of ways to get them back up. So.
And also, it was just a D10 medicine check to do the exact same thing in touch range. So, yeah, I mean, this is better. I still don't see it being super necessary, but it is cool that it at least got buffed.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know how much playtime it's going to get, or how much these changes are going to affect its playtime, but good changes nonetheless. Range is always helpful on things. Touch stuff is sometimes rough, so.
Yeah, and now a much needed buff to the worst cantrip in D&D 5e. True Strike is now an attack with a weapon that uses your spellcasting ability rather than strength or dexterity. So they sort of made it like a bit like the blade cantrips. Takes a weapon with which you have proficiency, and guided by a flash of magical insight, you make one attack with the weapon used in the spell's casting. It uses your spellcasting ability for attack and damage rolls instead of strength or dexterity, and it can be radiant damage or the weapon's normal damage type. And at level 5, 11, and 17, you get an additional d6 of damage. I think most significant thing over the blade cantrips for this is that this can be used with a ranged weapon, and obviously it uses your spellcasting ability instead of the blade cantrip still use your strength or dexterity.
Right. Yeah, this one grew up for sure.
Yeah.
It was tired of getting bullied and decided to become a better cantrip. Definitely much needed change. I mean, I'm very happy to see this, because now I can actually take this cantrip and stop memeing about it.
Yeah.
Because I would make jokes about this all the time, about how, like, this is such an S tier cantrip.
I mean, yeah, currently in 5e, this spell, like, you can't even optimize around it to make it good. Like, it's just so bad. But now it's for, like, a blade singer or a Swords Bard or something like that, I think this is a pretty good choice, to be honest. And now this lets Blade Singers and Eldritch Knights do like the same kind of thing with like the attack Booming Blade or attack Green Flame Blade with a ranged weapon now.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I don't think we need to buff ranged, but it is cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think
It does do slightly less damage. I mean, a lot less damage if you get the secondary effect of the blade cantrips. But yeah, I mean, I really like this change.
Yeah, I think it's okay for range stuff to kind of dip a little bit and have some fun. I've always liked these style of cantrips where they're like, you know, an interaction with a weapon attack. I've always thought those were cool. So I'd like to see more of these, to be honest. But,
yeah, I'd be down to see that too.
True Strike is much improved.
Looks like that's all there is for the cantrips. If you'd like to check out another one of our videos, there's another one YouTube thinks you might like right here. Either way, thank you guys for watching. I hope you have an awesome rest of your day, and we'll see you in the next one.